The college football experience weekday preview and picks episode for Tuesday through Friday and DFS on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers where you can win 100 times the amount of money you enter. Plus, every Sunday they're giving away $100,000. Use the promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for 100% deposit bonus up to $500. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use the promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today, people. Plus, we're brought to you by the MMA Gambling Podcast. They just launched their YouTube channel. And to celebrate, we're giving away an MMA Gambling Podcast hoodie. What are you doing, folks? You wear an MMA Gambling Podcast hoodie, you're less likely to get your ass whooped at any time. You're less likely to get into a fight. And if you do get in a fight and perhaps you win, you're only going to look cooler wearing an MMA Gambling Podcast hoodie. So head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/MMA hoodie for all the details. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride.
This is Randy Cross. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome. Welcome to the college football experience weekday preview and picks Tuesday through Friday and DFS. Keep playing the music. Keep playing the
Turn
music.
it up, Dundee.
It doesn't matter. All right. But I mean, what a loaded slate that we have, because I'm excited for this time of year. And I guess I'll reveal that in a second. But folks, if you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swig at Database Dad, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
Nobody knows nothing. Somebody knows. Double the price. But no one touches Dundee.
I love you, Conference USA. I love you, Conference USA, for making that move playing the weekday games. But let's not forget, the heart of weekday college football has always been in the Maction, baby.
That's true.
We got Maction this week. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for the DFS god himself. Remember, we invite you to come play DFS. We're going to talk DFS later in this episode, but come play DFS with us. You can find him on Twitter at NC__NICK. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, a free lock giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. Happy Monday, man. Let's do this.
How you been, buddy? And happy Maction.
Yes, on one hand, I'm sad to see the Conference USA go because they're moving back to Saturdays now. They had a 3-week run where we really got to see these teams more than we usually would on a Saturday. Because let's face it, we're not catching a whole lot of CUSA games on a loaded Saturday slate. So they're going to kind of fade back into obscurity, but it was fun while it lasted. And we were on a roll last week too, weren't we?
Yeah. I mean, what was that final record, including the FCS games, which, by the way, we hit all 3 FCS games. The fucking Long Island Sharks came out of nowhere and won.
Yeah, I think we shared all 3 FCS games, right? We didn't disagree on those.
Yeah, and Brown won on the money line in the Ivy League game.
I think we mentioned a possible sprinkle on that. So we did have some differences with FBS, but I went 6-1 with my only loss.
So that means you went 8-1, or no, 9-1 for the week on all of your picks, FCS and FBS.
Man,
unfucking believable.
And the only one being that heartbreaker with Sam Houston, laying 3.5. I want to say they're up 7 or 14. How much were they up at one point? And then they throw the pick 6.
I'm done. I have a future. I have an over on FC on Sam Houston, and they're the best. I was telling Patty C this. They're going to be the best 0-12 team of all time.
They were up 21-13 at the half, and then later in the third quarter, they were up 27-13, looking pretty good. And then, of course, the fourth quarter happens where they get outscored 17-7 to send it into overtime.
Unfucking believable.
Jeez.
Shout out to the chat. Remember, you can watch this youtube.com/the college experience. Weehawk says they should stay on Tuesday and Wednesday. The CUSA, it was fun.
They probably should. And just quick correction, the game didn't go into overtime. It was that last second field goal by Buzz Flabiano. Big Buzz.
Yes. And shout out to Ryan Hassey saying those FCS games were fire. Yeah, you got to love it. And Billy 10 saying it's Maction season, baby. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was a fire week. Look, I always try to get your reaction on the week because you're not available at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. your time to do the Saturday reaction show. But you did have some big time games. Some big time news also. In college football.
Sure.
With certain things, you had terrible targeting penalties. I don't know if you saw Shiloh Sanders get ejected for that ridiculous.
Awful.
What did you think of that?
Just ridiculous. And to your point, there was a handful of them. That wasn't the only one. There was at least 3 or 4 I saw where it's like, and why eject them? If you're going to throw the flag for 15 yards, first off, that shouldn't even be the case. But okay, give them 15 yards. That's not that big of a deal. The fact that you're ejecting kids, for these questionable leading with the helmet targeting plays is absolutely ridiculous. So, the 15 yards is bad enough, but then to eject them just makes it worse. It's just ridiculous.
Well, one of the things I also think that is so intriguing about about this day and age is you have all these. I felt like there was a legit good pushback even from fucking quarterbacks, like RG3 tweeting out what are we doing with football? Danny Cannell doing the same thing. Richard Sherman's wait, so we're supposed to go low and hurt them? I think the receivers would rather have them go high.
Right.
I don't know. It's a bummer. I don't think Colorado was going to win that game, but they were in that game. That game was not a blowout. And one thing we know about the Buffs is they don't have any depth. So when you lose a player that is one of their best players,
sure.
That really hurts.
Now, it hurts more than 15 yards.
Yeah.
Those 15 yards penalties, if called at the right time, they can be very impactful, but not as much as losing a play for the rest of the game, especially if it's relatively early in the game. Just ridiculous.
Yeah, and I just don't know, where does this stop? We saw it in the NFL yesterday. I just think.
Well, our other brother said he thinks that in 10 years they're basically going to be playing flag football. So,
why though? What why are we doing? I don't understand why.
I don't know who's in charge. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's conference commissioners or
I even think the players want this. The players want to play. Shiloh Sanders tweeted out today, let's bring old school football back. And I think the players really want who is on the other side of this coin is what I want to know.
Maybe perhaps the pendulum is about to swing in the other direction because it's been swinging way too far in one direction for way too long. So maybe we'll see some changes. I don't know. It just seems like it keeps on getting a little worse and a little worse, when it comes to targeting penalties.
Yeah. It's just, I don't even understand what the goal is to play defense right now. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do?
Right.
You can't. It's bad enough with the roughing the passers, which we could do another 20 minutes on that. But
sure.
I'm saying that then when the players catch the ball, or how a fullback or a running back or a tight end or whatever, any offensive player can lower their head, but the defensive player can't.
Right.
It happens all the time on offense.
Right.
We don't give them shit for it. It's just
And
ridiculous.
another one of those hits was in a game that we should probably talk about, the Kansas Oklahoma game, the Jason Bean one, which was another
Oh my God.
absolutely ridiculous. But that aside, a couple of us were definitely on Kansas. I know you called for the money line. You could see Oklahoma was due to drop one.
Dude,
And
they're going to drop multiple. Like I think they're going to lose this weekend.
I'm definitely taking the 6 points. Or it was 6 this morning at least.
Yeah, no, and I think when you look at the other games that they have to play, I think home to West Virginia after that. I mean, I would favor Oklahoma, but not by much.
Yeah.
At BYU,
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like
there's at least one other undefeated team, if not a couple more, where you start to see like each week they're just barely squeaking by. And I'm going to say this week Washington perhaps might be last week's Oklahoma, because they keep on now. They just don't look right. They don't look as good as they did the first 4 weeks of the year. So
now what the answer is on from Husky fans, right? Is that in the Oregon game, there is a moment in the Oregon game, and I think the second half, like the late third or early fourth, where Penix goes down, and he actually he threw an interception, I think, on that play, and he goes to the sidelines and he's going like this on the sidelines, and he looks like he's in pain.
Yeah.
And because he's had a big injury history.
Sure.
And then the fact that they were playing for a playoff berth, he's had to play each week. You couldn't afford that drop off. Now that's their excuse.
I'm sorry, but who else has had quarterback injuries? We'll say Duke for one. You can say Texas. Who else in the Pac-12? I was just thinking about it.
Well, Jaden DeLora, but I would actually say that worked out in their favor.
Oh, Utah hasn't had that quarterback all year long.
And their second string.
Right. You can go
towards ACL.
UCF has had problems with injuries. A bunch of Big 12 teams. I think half the Big 12 has had their quarterbacks out, certain weeks. So injuries are part of the game. So I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Other takeaways. You had JMU continue to win. Air Force continue to win.
North Carolina continue to lose for the second week in a row.
Continue to lose to Georgia Tech, dude. Yeah, I told Noah we had the clip. I know Noah's doing college basketball. I don't think this clip's going to come out probably because we're just jamming out so much college basketball content.
Overworked.
But 2 weeks ago, Carolina beats Miami, and the meat of their schedule had kind of like now they get to now they get Virginia and Georgia Tech, and I go no. I think we all on our pick show said this is where this is my problem. This is where they will lose to those teams, right?
Yeah.
And I think we all said this, and I actually said I bet you they barely get past Virginia, and they lose to Georgia Tech, but it was both. Patty C was right on I think on that side.
And now this week, I think it's UVA versus Georgia Tech, which is a kind of a hilarious game since they both just beat UNC.
The UNC championship.
And I know Ryan in the chat has mentioned Tobacco Road having a tough weekend, and certainly with Duke and UNC, but NC State beat Clemson, so that was a huge win for them. So not the entire Tobacco Road.
And we did lock up North Carolina Central in Durham on Thursday night last week.
That's right. Good point.
Blanton in the chat says, as a UNC fan, these past 2 weeks have been unbelievable. They thought they had something different about them this year. Oh man.
Well, the defense, let you down at, these last 2 weeks. That's for sure. And I know Blanton's our App State guy too. So App is struggling also. That's for sure.
They came back and won though.
They
came
they
back and won, but
I'm going to the game at JMU in a couple weeks here. And man, at this point, I just hope App doesn't get blown out, but I don't know. It seems like App plays everybody close, so maybe
our over on App is still alive. It's still alive,
barely.
But that was not. I don't even think that was encouraging because Southern Miss has been that bad.
I talked to a neighbor that's App State guy, has season tickets, and he was in Boone last week, and he was saying that pretty much everybody's calling for Clark's Head now.
Do it, all right, do it. Anything else you want to anything else you want to highlight? I mean, Notre Dame beat Pitt by 51 points. Pat Narduzzi's calling out his team.
Woo.
Miami got very fortunate to get past Virginia, and Miami still they won, so they won't scrutinize Cristobal here. But he had another moment where he sat on the ball in a tie game with about 40 seconds left to go, 45 seconds left to go.
You know, one of the more surprising games was Boise State just putting it on Wyoming, shutting them out, you know, after the first quarter. I didn't see that coming.
I couldn't believe that one. I couldn't believe that one. Yeah.
If we're going to talk about all of our hits last week, and we had a lot of hits, we got to talk about some of our misses. And Wyoming was a miss because, I mean, I thought that was going to be a close game. I mean, Boise State came on late last year. Are they about to do it again?
Well, they need to do it this week in Fresno because the winner is going to probably play for the Mountain West Championship against Air Force.
I'd argue they're not going to do it again because they haven't had a great track record in Fresno. I think Fresno might pull that off.
Yeah. And I mean, I locked up San Jose State against Hawaii.
Yep.
Did you see that? And to me,
I think I was with you on that too. Yeah.
I mean, they're a team. I know that they I think they already lost at Boise in a game. They were up 17 points going into the fourth. Yeah. But they're a team now. They lost to Air Force and Boise. So unfortunately, but they get Fresno in a couple weeks. I think they could beat Fresno. So if Fresno ends up beating Boise, Fresno's already got one loss at Wyoming. You could get this whack. There's no more divisions in the Mountain West. You can get this wacky thing where
man, you got a healthy Mikey Keene with Jeff Tedford as the head coach. I think I'd favor.
I would still favor Fresno, but I'm just saying San Jose is way better than their record.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think they might have had
really
the hardest first
stretch.
Yeah.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, shout out to the chat. We're rolling along. People say, let's go Mountaineers. All right, let's hop into it because we got Maction this week, folks. But before we get to those Maction games, I want to tell you that the College Football Experience weekday preview and picks episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Look, Underdog has just introduced Scorchers. Go 5 for 5 and pick 'em Scorchers and enjoy a spicy 100 times payout. And for a limited time, Underdog is extending their first deposit bonus up to $500, and they're giving away $100,000 every Sunday. Yeah, 10 lucky players win 10K each and every Sunday. So watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little extra cash on Underdog's mobile app or website, UnderdogFantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit up to $500. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by the MMA Gambling Podcast Contest. Look, the MMA Gambling Podcast just launched their YouTube channel, and in honor, we're giving away a MMA Gambling Podcast hoodie to one lucky winner. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/MMA hoodie to submit your entry today, and make sure to subscribe to the MMA Gambling Podcast on YouTube. I mean, what better way? Look, if someone's wearing an MMA Gambling Podcast or just anything MMA related, and I'm 7 whiskeys deep and the guy's talking shit to me, probably going to think long and hard about
You're right. You're right. Yeah, you're the man. You're the man.
And look, I've been saying this, you know, MMA and like UFC and shit is like open up the door where like you never have any idea who could whoop your ass. I remember like, wasn't there a video of like Suge Knight who was like 6'10", former UNLV defensive tackle? He was talking shit to someone at like a nightclub in Dallas, and dude was like a UFC dude, or he did, you know, that shit. He did, you know, MMA or Muay Thai or some shit.
It's like the great equalizer, man. And
yeah.
To your point, a lot of small guys have gotten into it, you know, and so, yeah, you think, you know, you might be bigger in size wise. Oh, I can kick his ass. But if you don't know how to fight, if you're not skilled, you know, with the technique, then you'll get your ass kicked real quick.
Well, and it's super embarrassing because not only like are they just going to hit you like directly in your face a couple times, like they'll have you pass out.
Yeah, they're going to choke your bitch ass out.
You'll be asleep. You'll be fucking asleep. Some dude looking like Martin Short gonna fucking punch you 3 times right in the face. Next thing you know, you're asleep and hanging out in the booth while the DJ keeps playing the hits.
And you know afterwards, he's probably teabagging you.
Exactly. So, yeah, folks, what are you doing? Get that MMA Gambling Podcast sweatshirt. It's free. All right. Look, even if you can't fight, you're less likely to have people fuck with you. Makes sense. All right.
There you go. Remember,
as always, to let it ride. All right. We are back on the College Football Experience weekday preview and picks. And oh boy, Northern, we got action Tuesday night, Northern Illinois, Central Michigan. This is one for the ages here. NIU is currently laying 5.5 points and they've been a fun team. They're alive. They're alive to get to the MAC championship. This is a series that dates back to 1939, folks. Central Michigan does have an 8-game lead, but that's what you got to love about these old, while all of college football has changed, the MAC is just staying strong, baby. Saying, oh, you want to do all this movement shit? Nah, we're going to sit back.
I don't even need a calendar to tell me it's November. I see the MAC playing on Tuesday. I say, hey, it's November, boys.
Look, this game happened last year and CMU won 35-22. However, I don't believe Rocky Lombardi was healthy for it. You got to go back to the year before, and Rocky Lombardi and Lombardi Magic in Mount Pleasant at Kelly Shorts Stadium. It's the worst name for a stadium. 39-38. Rocky Lombardi came out on top.
And in that game, Lombardi threw for 348 and 3 touchdowns.
So, I mean, I think CMU is live. I think CMU. So here's another thing here. Both teams are 4-4. They're trying to get to a bowl game. They want to play in the, in the Quaker State Bowl or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like they want to get there.
Right.
So it's a huge game. NIU can still make the MAC championship, even though they lost to Toledo. They need a little help, but at the same time, they can still get there. And I don't know. I feel like I'm going to take the points. I think the Chips, Bertie Manuel Jr. is questionable. Now they've kind of moved off of him to what's my guy's name here? What is it? What is his name again? Bauer, Jace Bauer.
That's surprising too. That's been a weird situation. Emmanuel hasn't played since I think September 30th when he got hurt, but he's been on the depth chart the last 2 weeks. But even when Bauer missed a couple snaps, he got hurt and he came back in that game, but another quarterback came in. So I don't know what's going on with Emmanuel, but I thought the offense was more explosive with him in it. Cause he was definitely a threat to take it to the house with his legs, pretty much any play.
Yeah. You know what though? I think the Chips are better than their record, man. You saw what they did to South Alabama, who's a complete mystery fucking team this year. As we lost money on them on Saturday, but I'm gonna sprinkle that plus 175 money line, and I'm taking the Chips plus 5.5 because one thing I know about NIU historically under Rocky Lombardi, those games are always fucking like a 1-score game.
Yeah, I was surprised when I was looking at the lines and making my picks this morning. It was 3.5. So it just with over the course of today, it's jumped up 2 points, which I liked it better at 3.5. But if you look at Central Michigan the last 3 weeks, basically since Emmanuel hasn't played, they got whooped by Buffalo 37-13. They lost to a bad Ball State team, and they just squeaked by Akron 17-10. It sure seems to me like something isn't right with that offense. And there is the revenge angle from last year, Northern Illinois losing that. Rocky Lombardi's 6th-year quarterback. He's not going to be fazed by the road trip to Mount Pleasant. And if you want to look at ATS records, Northern Illinois 3-1 ATS on the road. Central Michigan 0-3 ATS at home. And they haven't covered a game since that big win over South Alabama, which seems like it was like 2 months ago at this point. So I'm going to, you know what? I like our pod starting off with a disagreement. I'm going to go you're road crazy. Favored.
You know why you're wrong? Is because you're making sense and you forget this is the wacky Mac. All right.
Very true. Very true. If you want to dive a little bit deeper into the stats, Northern Illinois 6th in the nation defending the pass. Central Michigan just 109th. Maybe another big game by Rocky Lombardi. And Central Michigan 132nd, second to last in the nation creating turnovers.
Rocky Lombardi will get injured for the 75,000th time.
That's quite possible.
That's the path to a victory for the Chips. Fire up Chips is what I say. Let's go. On Tuesday night, we also have a huge game. Bigger than I think people will think because, we all know Buffalo sucks ass, right?
I think so, but every once in a while they surprise you and they beat somebody like your Central Michigan Chippewas 37-13.
They lost to Fordham of the FCS. They got Liberty put up like 1,000 points on them. But don't look now. Buffalo controls their own fate on getting to the MAC championship. Now, granted, their next 4 games are at Toledo, home to Ohio, at Miami, Ohio, and home to Eastern Michigan.
Ooh,
but still,
that's a rough stretch.
It's November and you control your own fate.
What more can you ask for?
And they head to the Glass Bowl to take on the Toledo Rockets. Last year, Buffalo happened to score an upset against Toledo, 34-27. Maybe Buffalo's that team that just gives them problems.
In that game, Toledo was up 27-10 going into the fourth quarter. Buffalo scored 24 fourth quarter points. One of the reasons why I think I'm going to actually lay the points with Toledo is I think, Toledo's a veteran team. Daquan Finn remembers that. Penny Boone, the running back, remembers that. They're not going to take their foot off the gas. They're going to keep it on the accelerator. I know you've mentioned several times this year, don't lay a lot of points with Toledo. And for the most part, you've been right. Toledo is 0-4 ATS as a double-digit favorite versus other FBS teams. That changes Tuesday night. I'm going to go Rockets. I'm going to lay the big number.
You're making too much sense, dude. You're I can't believe you actually did all this with points. You got to factor it. Part of what you should be writing down when you're going through this is, wait a second, this is the fucking wacky Mac. All right. And look, by the way, this is a rivalry game that dates back to 1926, almost 100 years ago. They met for the first time ever. And look, you don't have to go that far back to find the last time that the Bulls won in Toledo. And by the way, do I need to mention that Buffalo's won 3 in a row against Toledo?
That all the more reason why I like Toledo this year, because they
no.
All right, let
15.5 points is ridiculous.
One last point that also is going to make way too much sense. But Toledo's the best rushing team in the MAC. Toledo's the 3rd best rushing team in the country, and meanwhile, Buffalo has the 117th rushing defense in the country. Still, more sense, right?
Yes, you'd have to go back to 2005 for the last time that Toledo would have covered this many points against Buffalo. It ain't happening, but that's making too much sense. So I need to shut the fuck up and just say, this is the wacky Mac. Take the 15.5 with the Bulls on Tuesday night.
There is something about taking dogs and taking points in MAC games. So I'm a little nervous about both of these, but that's the way I'm going, man. I like the fact that we differ on both of them Tuesday.
I want to do a quick check on the weather.
41 at kick.
Football weather, baby. That's what I love about the MAC. None of these sissy domes. You know what I mean? They need to get that fucking MAC championship out of that fucking roller rink in Detroit. Yeah. What about the one in Mount Pleasant? Is that even colder?
Let's take a look here. It's only early November, so it might not be too bad, but that's gonna be 39 at kick.
God, it's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful. All right, let's shift on over to Wednesday. Ball State, Bowling Green. Ball State, have they been the clear most disappointing team in the MAC this year?
Yeah, I went over there. I think they had a win total of 5.5 or 6.5. I was expecting Ball State, even losing Carson, Lexington, Steele, and a few others. I thought Ball State was going to be better this year, and I'm surprised at their 2-6 record.
Yeah, me too. I think they're one of the. If I had to list 20 most disappointing teams, I think they would probably make my list. This game, by the way, goes back to 1942. All right, talking World War II. Let's play some Bowling Green Ball State football.
And Patty sees Loeffler, the Bowling Green Falcons. He's a big fan. They've won 3 out of 4 by double digits, actually.
I mean, how about this, dude? Ball State just can't beat this team, with the exception of. Wait,
they don't play every year though, because they're an opposite.
Yeah, that's true. MAC, right? That's true. But man, Bowling Green kind of has their number, I would say, right? It seems that way, at least to me. Anyway, Bowling Green's laying 5.5, but once again, that makes too much sense. I hate Loeffler as a favorite, man. You cannot do that. Bowling Green won by 38? I feel like the last time they played, but fuck.
Yeah. It's about time I get off of a MAC favorite. So I'm on Ball State here. Maybe they've turned a corner. The last 2 weeks, they played Toledo really close, only losing 13-6. And again, they beat your Central Michigan Chippewas. So I like Ball State here. Also, they benched Lane Hatcher. They're going with this dual threat guy. I'm going to butcher his first name, Kyle Kelly. Yeah. He's averaging 85 plus rushing yards a game over the last 3. So I like that element that he brings to the offense. And I don't trust any of the quarterbacks on Bowling Green, whether your boy Connor Bazelak from Indiana, from Missouri before that, he's transferred everywhere, or the other guy, Camden Orth. And the other point I'll say here is that Bowling Green wants to run the ball. And actually, Ball State, the one good thing they have is a good run D, second best in the MAC. I think they can slow down that rushing attack and keep it close and potentially money line this.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, I'm taking 3 dogs to start it off, but this is where
it's easy to see a tide turn.
The Kent State Golden Flashes are heading into.
No, so hold on. You're on Ball State too, then.
I am.
Okay.
Ball State plus 5.5. Yeah, I think you sprinkle that money. Dude, I never take Leffler as a favorite. Like, I don't think I've ever taken Leffler as a favorite in my life.
I like it.
All right. Kent State's heading. This is a Wednesday as well. Kent State at Akron. They used to have the Rubber Bowl. They should have preserved that instead of this Infocision bullshit. But it's still outdoors. I can't hate it too much. Kent State and Akron. This is the battle for the Wagon Wheel. This goes back to 1923, folks. 100 years old. All right. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. NFL didn't even exist. All right, let's go.
They're gonna have Darius Rucker come out and sing the national anthem.
Yeah, he's probably done Infocision Field before.
I know he's a South Carolina Gamecock, but he did make that song "Wagon Wheel" popular.
Yeah. So Kent State's won 4 straight in this matchup, and I know DJ Irons is out, but I don't think so. Jeff Undercuffler's the name. Lay the 3.5 with Akron. I'm still going to hit my over 3 wins. And it starts with the win against Kent State. NC Nick, what are you doing in this matchup?
I agree. Kent State is definitely still on auto fade. They're going to be on auto fade all of this year. Akron, look, both teams are 1-7. There's not a whole lot to say here. If you look at the stats, they all suck.
I love this game. It's a battle of the wagon wheel. That's all that matters. The fucking wagon wheel, right?
But I think the fact that you got a team at home, Akron. I think they're better, first off, and I think they're hungrier for a win here. Where Kent State, they've already thrown the towel in this year. So in year 2 with Moorhead, I think Akron needs this game more. I think they're going to come out and win pretty easily.
I think so too. All right, moving along. Let's jump over to Thursday. Man, the Thursday night slate.
Thursday night slate is first off, it's 3 games, which is always nice, especially when you're playing DFS.
4 if you add the FCS game in there.
That's a good point.
Let's go. But that's not available on the DFS side. But we have a game there in Lubbock, Texas. The Sonny Dykes Bowl. His dad, Spike Dykes, legendary Texas Tech coach. Sonny Dykes also played baseball for Texas Tech.
Wow.
Graduated. He was an assistant for Mike Leach at Texas Tech. And now he's at TCU. TCU heading into Texas Tech. This game goes back to 1926. The West Texas Championship is what they call this rivalry. Texas Tech's laying 3 at home. Now, here's the thing here. I personally think TCU is a better football team. And I actually like that backup quarterback. This will be his second road start. He lost his first one.
Yeah.
But Lubbock gets lit.
Oh, man. Thursday night, prime time, nationally televised game. You better believe it.
You look back last year, was a 10-point TCU win. TCU's actually won 4 straight.
Ooh.
Why do I feel like the number is off? Like, if you had to set this, I would have thought maybe people would have favored TCU.
I think people know that this is a tough road trip. I think the line is fair, and I actually like Texas Tech. I think
I was about to say the line's telling me to take Texas Tech.
Yeah, with Baron Morton, he's expected to start. He's back healthy. He's an obvious upgrade over that true freshman Jake Strong, who had the start at BYU and threw 3 picks in that game. I mean, this is a play here where, well, first off, last 2 road trips for TCU, lost to K-State 41-3 and 27-14 at Iowa State. So I think you definitely go with the home team here, lay the field goal. I think Texas Tech wins this. I mean, that's a tough place to play. Come on.
We're agreeing too much. Wait, so the only ones we disagreed with were
the 2 Tuesday night games.
Yeah, the Tuesday night games. Okay. Yeah, I think Texas Tech's to play. As Joey McGuire also, I think he wants to reestablish the fact that they're better than TCU. They haven't beat him in a while. Statement game for him.
By the way, one quick thing, not to cut you off. Sorry, there's only one home dog on all these FBS weekday games, and that's your Chippewas. Only one home dog.
That's why you got to ride it. Fire up chips. Yeah, no, I think Texas Tech. I think they're in the more desperate spot. Texas Tech's probably a lot better than their record. When you look at some of they should have beat Oregon. Everyone wants to say Oregon's a playoff team. I don't. Go back and watch that Oregon game, folks. Texas Tech blew a double-digit lead in the late third, early fourth, and then they were about 10 yards away from a field goal that would have won them the game. Yeah, and then you look at the Wyoming game, they blew a lead. I mean, this team has had some heartbreak this year. 7-point loss to Dub V in Morgantown. The overtime loss to Wyoming. Kind of got their ass whooped by BYU though. But
we haven't heard any lock music yet. I'm gonna lock up Texas Tech here.
Oh yeah, my bad. I just I will lock up. I mean, there's a few that I like that are locks on this board.
I mean, I'm gonna bet those MAC games.
Yeah, I'm about to say I'm betting I'm pretty much betting every weekday game here.
But I don't know if I want any MAC games to go on my lock record. But so I guess I'm gonna not do that and just lock up Texas Tech here.
Oh no, I'm locking up Akron -3.5.
Oh, you know what? You know what?
Yeah.
Let me write on that with you.
Let's go, folks. And I'll join you on Texas Tech. There we go.
All right.
Do we have a little parlay going on here? A little Akron Texas Tech parlay.
I like it.
Let's go to the next one on Thursday. This is an awesome game. They call this one the Battle for the Belt. Yes, South Alabama Troy. It's a rivalry that doesn't go back that long, but they're in that area of the country where the universities have had animosity despite some of them not having football programs. So this only goes back to 2012, but it is a rivalry game. Battle for the belt. Troy leads this all-time series, and Troy hasn't lost to South Alabama since 2017. Last year was a 10-6 classic.
I've been watching that game.
Troy's laying 5. South Alabama is going to win this game because I expect Troy. Here's my logic. You got to use Wacky Mac logic for this South Alabama team this year.
It's hard to know which one's going to show up, right?
I mean, the team that beat Oklahoma State by 26 in Stillwater. And by the way, Oklahoma State, if they win this weekend, looking like the front runner to play for the Big 12 championship. Then they somehow lose to Central Michigan. Then they beat ULM by 48. ULM's look decent. Then they beat Southern Miss by 52. And then they lay an egg against Louisiana last week. I got no idea, but that's why South Alabama wins this game. South Alabama +5. I'll ride that +175 money line there, even though it's on the road. What are you doing here?
Yeah, that game against the Raging Cajuns. I mean, they had more yardage by about 150 more yards, but they lost a turnover battle 5-0. So you're not going to win a game when you lose the turnover battle that bad. Carter Bradley threw 2 picks and he fumbled 3 times. The one thing to watch out for is that he was taken off the field with a knee injury very late in that game. It appears that it's nothing serious, but you probably want to monitor that because I want nothing to do with true freshman Gio Lopez on the road at Troy, if that's the case.
Fair.
But I think Carter Bradley is going to play. And yeah, perhaps that was, a look ahead spot last week or turnovers are just kind of fluky. So I think the fact that South Alabama lost last year and they have this game circled. They had it circled all off season. I think they come into Troy, Alabama, and this is going to be a very close game, probably low scoring like last year. And I think 5 or 6 points is too many. So I'm going to agree with you again and go with the Jaguars.
We got a barn burner. Speaking of Tobacco Road going on in Durham, North Carolina. And if memory serves me correct, NC Nick, are you going to be in attendance at the Wake Forest Duke game?
I will be in attendance, and I'm wearing the hat tonight. Go Duke.
This rivalry this is why college football is great, and I'm glad this game, because this wouldn't happen as often as before with the two divisions split. But they have been playing this game since 1889.
Beautiful.
18 fucking 89 when Wake Forest skunked the Dukes 32-0.
I saw that headline today that gave out the ACC like protected rivalries for the next 7 years, and Duke and Wake is on the list. So at least they didn't screw that up.
There we go. Duke is laying 12.5 points. 18 fucking 89. You can't. Dude, this is silly. Duke won by 3 a year ago. Remember, Mike Elko, former defensive coordinator for a long time with Dave Clawson. All right,
Wake.
I think he was at Wake. I think he was at Bowling Green with him. I think he was at Richmond with him.
Yeah.
So, if I may, who won last year? It was
Duke won 34-31.
So I think it's only fitting that Dave Clawson.
Because I understand how the bastard thinks. I taught him. Now I owe him one.
He owes him one. So I will lock up 12.5 points. Riley Leonard's not healthy. You have to take the points here. Love this game on the schedule. Love it on a Thursday night. This Thursday night slate's incredible. NC Nick, you're going to the game.
Look, Duke has been excellent in Durham this year. I mean, they have double-digit wins over Clemson, NC State, Northwestern, who's just one game back in the Big Ten West, which I did not think I would be saying on October 30th. And the tough loss to Notre Dame was at home too. So they've been really good at home, but the fact that Riley Leonard is nowhere near 100%, and I think you have to take the points here. I think I've taken Duke ATS every game this year. But I'm gonna jump off. I'm not gonna bet it. I'm not gonna lock it because I think Duke. I think coming home after that tough road trip at Florida State, at Louisville, is exactly what they need. But I do think it's too many points. And Mitch Griffiths is back for Wake. They are another team with some quarterback injuries, so I think you have to grab those points in this game.
Yeah. All right, folks. There's another Thursday game happening in beautiful, lovely, amazing Daytona Beach, Florida. But this is the true toilet bowl here. 1-7 Mississippi Valley State heading to Daytona, Florida, to take on 1-7 Bethune-Cookman. Remember, Ed Reed was their coach for 4 days. No one cleaned up the previous coach. Didn't send the cleaning crew in, but we got a banger going on in Daytona Beach, Florida on ESPNU. This is a rivalry game, sort of, that goes back to the 60s, the 1960s. They've been playing each other. I am currently seeing Bethune-Cookman as a 3-point favorite. Now, the last time they played last year, Bethune won by 10 on the road against those Delta Devils. But can the Wildcats of Bethune I think you got to lay the points here. Mississippi Valley State's a terrible team. I mean, both are terrible.
Mississippi Valley State is the only one in between the two that has a win over an FCS opponent, because the only team Bethune has beaten is Savannah State.
Bethune's been kind of feisty lately, man. They kept it within 3 with Texas Southern. They almost beat Alabama State, who's pretty good. Even Jackson State, they only lost by 6.
True, they've been close, but I'm kind of Mississippi Valley State, their quarterback Tijerian Williams. That sounds like a MEAC quarterback. Luke Sprague, the white guy, quarterback Bethune-Cookman, just doesn't feel right in this game. But no, I agree. I think Bethune-Cookman's better. They've been close to getting a W of late, and I think I think they're going to beat the Delta Devils. As much as I like that nickname,
best
the Delta
name.
Devils. I think you go Wildcats.
Dude, can we be honest? The FCS names are way better than the FBS.
For sure, because everyone's not. Well, I guess the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats doesn't help my point.
No,
here,
but you got like the Florida A&M Rattlers, which is unique. You have the Delta Devils. You have the fucking Jackrabbits. You got the Salukis. You got just these Richmond Spiders. Just great fucking names.
For sure.
The Lumberjacks of Northern Arizona, even though Stephen F. Austin has it too. They have great names. The Thunderbirds.
I agree.
The
Blue Hens.
Yeah, they're just great.
The Black Bears.
Yeah. They just do it right. They do it right, man. Friday night. Before we get to Friday night, though, I want to tell you folks out there that the college football experience is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use that promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. I love these weekday games this week. This might be my favorite weekday slate of the whole fucking year. We're going. Unfortunately, I wish it was in Chestnut Hill, but it's in that fucking what do they call it? A wireless dome, some bullshit like that.
JMA Wireless.
Yeah. So Syracuse Orange Men are hosting the Boston College Eagles, the red hot Boston College Eagles.
4 in a row.
I have the over on them at
That's
6
right.
wins. So huge game going on here. This is a big time rivalry here too. This goes back to 1924. They were in the Big East forever. But Syracuse has won 3 of the past 5. You could say that's a Dazio or Halfley. I don't know, but Syracuse laying 2.5 points. Wrong team favored. Boston College soars in that filthy dome. All right, what are you doing here?
I disagree. I'm going to use your logic here. I'm going to use your Mac logic where this line doesn't make any sense because Syracuse has dropped 4 in a row. Granted, it was a tough schedule. I mean, Clemson at UNC, at FSU, at Virginia Tech. They've been on the road for 3 straight weeks, and Boston College has won 4 in a row. So I expected this to be Boston College -3. So I think the line stinks. And you know what? I think Syracuse is going to pull out a surprise here. Boston College struggles to defend the run, 108th in the country. I think the Shredder and LaQuint Allen can have a nice game, and Syracuse bounces back from that 4-game losing streak. Because let's face it, Boston College isn't that good.
Still alive to win the ACC or make the ACC championship. That's why BCU gets it done at that filthy dome. Look, we got a bunch of great rivalries here. Next up, we jump to the border war, the Battle of the Bronze Boot. Colorado State heading to Laramie. Colorado State Air Force. Did you catch any of that game, NC Nick?
No, I didn't.
It was
dude.
It was in.
Let
the
me tell you.
snow.
Can I tell
It
you
was
about
glorious.
Halloween these days? Halloween with little kids. It's not one day of the year. It's like a whole week. So I was knee deep with parties and parades and pumpkin carvings and shit. I didn't catch as much football as I would like to. I still caught a decent amount, but this game wasn't one of them.
Well, these two, as we were just in both these cities, they're located 60 miles apart from one another, 65 miles, I think. But this is a big time rivalry. And by the way, Colorado State Air Force was in the snow. It was everything that's great with college football. It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, one of the cool things about us going to Wyoming earlier in the year was that I didn't realize it was that big of a rivalry. But our Wyoming fans that we were sitting with, they said our biggest rivalry is Colorado State. We don't care if we lose every other game. We want to beat the Rams. Yeah,
and they have beaten them the past 2 years. They've actually won. Don't look now. 6 of the last 7. Now, some of that's Steve Adazio effect, but once again, the Boston College logic. But Craig Bowl, he circles this one and maybe that's why Boise got him. Maybe they were looking ahead to the Battle of Bronze Boot. This game's been happening since the 1800s as well. 1899, the first time they ever squared off on the gridiron. NC Nick, Wyoming's laying 7 in Laramie.
Wyoming only has 2 wins by a touchdown or more this year. They beat Portland State by 14 and New Mexico by 9. This is not a team that you want to lay a decent amount of points with. This is a rivalry game. It was 14-13 last year. I got to take the points here.
Dude, we're agreeing too much here on this one. I feel like as much as I want to take,
we just disagreed on the previous game.
Yeah, I know. As much as I want to take, like I love Wyoming, but I feel like 7 points, a rivalry game.
I mean, look, Colorado State was tied up at Air Force. They were tied up with Air Force 13-13 last week before that kind of got out of hand.
Yeah. Next up, I was a bit shocked by this line. So Princeton's in first place. This is a Friday night game. This one's on ESPNU too. Princeton's in first place in the Ivy League. Now they only have a 1-game lead on Dartmouth. Fucking Dartmouth. But the Tigers currently in first place. They upset Harvard 2 weeks ago. They're, as far as I'm seeing here, they're getting 8 points.
Dartmouth is?
No, Princeton.
Is.
Despite them being in first place. I wanted to double check with this line. Maybe this changes, so pay attention to it. Occasionally, when they send me these lines, the FCS, I get the FCS line sent to me. Occasionally, they will have the minus on the wrong side of it, but either way, I'm a bit shocked at this line. This is this rivalry goes back to like 1897 or some shit like that. And by the way, Dartmouth has a 5-game lead on Princeton. Last season, Princeton won 17-14. Now the previous 2 years, Dartmouth won 31-7 and 27-10. So maybe that's the logic here, but man, I don't know. All I know is Memorial Field in Hanover, New Hampshire is gonna be rocking. And in the name of Buddy Tevens, fucking Dartmouth is gonna beat Princeton
and cover.
But no, take the points. Take the points in Princeton.
I mean, it's tough fading the senior quarterback for Dartmouth, Dylan Cadwallader. But I'm going to do that here. Too many points. I think, my strategy with FCS. When in doubt, take the points. And kind of like your strategy with the MAC.
Yeah. And don't forget with Princeton's starting quarterback, Blake Stenstrom, former Colorado Buffalo transfer, son of Steve Stenstrom, former Stanford Cardinal quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
There we go. Golden arm. All right. Go, let's ride with it. Let's take the points.
Let's do it.
All right. Look, before we get to the DFS side of it, what are we locking up here? What's our lock dog tease here?
All right. So the bets I feel best about is the Akron -3.5, the Texas Tech -3. If I'm going to throw a third in there, it would probably be South Alabama or Colorado State.
So that's the parlay.
I mean, you know what I like the parlay. How about we just do? I hate to go against my boys, but the Thursday night parlay: Texas Tech, Wake Forest, South Bama.
Love it. Maybe the South Alabama is the one. How about this? Texas Tech, Wake Forest, Colorado State.
That's pretty solid.
South Alabama's probably gonna hit, but they're so all over the place. I feel like I would hate for that to crash this parlay.
I think my favorite dog has to be Colorado State.
Yeah, I like the chips. Chips would be my favorite dog.
What about we have some fun and do a little teaser?
Yeah, I like what we bring. I mean, if you get Wake up to 18.5, there's no way you're losing that. There's no way you're fucking losing that.
That's pretty good. And move up Colorado State too to 13.
Yeah, to 13. There's no way you're losing that.
Wyoming just barely beat Portland State by that much.
Hey, the Vikings can row in any weather.
To throw one more in there,
I got it for you.
What is it?
Central Michigan plus 11.5 because come on, Northern Illinois only plays close games.
Yeah,
dude.
no, yeah. Even though I was on Northern Illinois minus the 5.5, I think you're right. I think that's a teaser.
Do I need to let's just rattle off? Short of the Akron game, Northern Illinois this year, they won by 3 against Boston College in overtime. The next week they lost to an FCS Southern Illinois team by 3. Then they lost at Nebraska by once again, it's fine if they lose because CMU, you're getting them in the points. They actually lost 3 straight after that. 2-point game, 8-point game. Then they did beat Akron by 41, but that's Akron. That was the first game without DJ Irons. They beat Ohio by 10. So you'd still be covering that, right? They beat Eastern Michigan by 7 the last time they played. So you're in a great spot with the points there. So that's the third leg of that tease.
Our guy Ryan wants to tease over 0 and move Texas Tech to +3. I think that's reckless. I don't know about that. I mean, I locked up Texas Tech -3, so I see your point, but usually you don't cross 0, right?
I mean, I do sometimes because I'm a maniac, but and I don't hate that play in Lubbock, but TCU's backup quarterback's good. It's just he sucked on the road the first time I saw him in the Little Apple. That's a tough first 2 road games, by the way.
It is.
If you're probably hoping that you get like Baylor or you know what I mean, like Houston,
Cincinnati, maybe. Or something.
go into Kansas State and Texas Tech as your first 2 road starts. God bless you. God bless you. But yeah, okay. The dog, the dog I'm going to go is Chips. Chips are going to win it on the money line.
No. The dog is Colorado State.
Although I'll tell you this, if Riley Leonard is not that healthy, Wake is plus 380.
Yeah. Wake has been so bad this year, though. At least Duke's defense is good.
But Duke scored 0 points last week.
I mean, that would be the juiciest dog. That's the biggest line of
actually.
The Toledo Buffalo's the biggest line, but
I think we ride Wake money line, CMU money line. Maybe you think about parlaying that.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go. All right, folks. If you're watching on YouTube, just stay put. We're gonna be doing our FCS show here. So stick around here. All right, we are back on the college football experience. This is the B side here, but if you're listening to this on the audio side, this is just our DFS show for the Tuesday and Wednesday night action here. As we have Maction back, it's November, it's Maction month, and I am joined here. Where this is Pick Dundee. I'm here with NC Nick as we are about to give away our DFS plays for Tuesday and Wednesday night. NC Nick. I thought the Tuesday slate was way better than the Wednesday slate.
For sure. But before we dive into that, let's do a quick recap here. Since we last spoke Thursday night, Jamie 8238 won that one Thursday night. That son of a bitch. He is winning a lot of these. I took home the Friday night championship. Boom. Saturday day, Beefer 54 won. Also a very good DFS player. Saturday night, M Buhner 23 won. And our two side bets were null and void because Manjack, the Houston receiver, did not play. And then that you had Manjack in the first one, and then Tez Walker got hurt, so that one was null and void too. So not much to talk about there. But yes, to answer your question, the Tuesday night games. I mean, so for example, the Tuesday night games in Northern Illinois, Central Michigan with an over under 45.5, and Buffalo Toledo with an over under 51. Meanwhile, the two Wednesday games were in the 30s, the high 30s for their over-under. So a lot more offense Tuesday night, a lot more options Tuesday night.
Yeah, and before we get into giving our lineups away, I want to tell you that the College Football Experience DFS show for Tuesday and Wednesday night Maction is brought to you by Underdog. All right, Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog has just introduced Scorchers. Go 5 for 5 and pick up Scorchers and enjoy a spicy 100 times payout. And for a limited time, Underdog's extended their first deposit bonus up to $500. $100,000 Sundays will continue. Yes, they're giving away $100,000 every single Sunday. 10 lucky players will win $10,000 each. So watch along, make picks, and maybe make a little extra cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog Fantasy will double your first deposit up to $500. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN. All right, we are back on the College Football Experience DFS Maction episode, and here we are. So Tuesday slate I found so much easier than Wednesdays. I was just
Wednesday is going to separate the men from the boys.
Yeah. Tuesday, did you go with two quarterbacks?
Yeah, I did. And, basically, if you listen to our pick show, I liked Toledo laying the big number. And I also liked Northern Illinois to go on the road and get a W. And I kind of focused on both those teams more so than the others in this. So I went Daquan Finn, 8,300.
You got to roster him. He's dual threat.
Yeah.
Got to roster him. He's a stud.
Other than other Toledo Rockets, he averages 8 more fantasy points per game than the next best guy. So he's clearly the best player on the slate. He's going to be very highly owned, but I think you have to take him.
Yeah. Yeah. So your second quarterback, then I'm assuming you're going with Rocky Lombardi.
Rocky Lombardi. Yes. 6.5K. Did you not go with him?
No, I can't trust him. I can't trust him to play four quarters of football.
Injury concerns are always there with him, but he is a 6th-year senior playing the Chippewas, who are ranked 109th in the country versus the pass. And I mentioned last time he played them, which was 2 years ago, because he was hurt last year. He threw for 348 and 3 touchdowns.
You talk all this talk about, who you should get, but there's a guy out there named Cole Snyder's Pretzels. All right. And look, one thing I like about this Toledo game is if you're right, either two things can happen. All right. You think Toledo's going to blow them out, but I know, history tells me otherwise. Buffalo's had their number lately. Toledo hasn't blown out anybody with the exception of Texas Southern. So let's play your game. Let's say it's a blowout. Well, that means Cole Snyder's going to have to throw the ball all over the field to try to come back.
Some garbage points.
But I also think this game will be a lot closer than you think. That's why I took the Buffalo Bulls, because I think they're going to have success passing the ball. And Snyder's Pretzel, former Rutgers starting quarterback. You know I love Rutgers starting quarterbacks since Ray Lucas. All right. 6,700. I can see I don't trust this Toledo defense. I mean, I think their defense is decent.
Well, I wouldn't trust Cole Snyder much either, considering he hasn't had a fantasy performance in the 20s since week 3.
And who'd they play week 3?
Liberty.
But
That was a blowout. That was a lot of garbage points. But you're taking Buffalo and the point, so you're assuming it's not really going to be a blowout.
What did I tell you about the Wacky Mac, buddy? All right.
Take a lot.
What did I tell you about this team?
Well, I mean, this is setting up nicely because these guys are only $200 apart. So you want our side bet for a bottle of bourbon is right here. Lombardi versus Snyder.
Lombardi. I hate fading a Lombardi. Like everything in my body is telling me that I can't put a bet on the line to bet against a Lombardi. But fuck it, Snyder's Pretzels. Let's go.
Can you even name another Snyder that's been good at football? All the years we've been watching
football.
Bill Snyder. Bill Snyder. He's a good coach. Fair.
He knew a thing or two. All right. Who was that Snyder for the Cleveland Indians back in the day? He was great.
Cleveland Indians, huh?
Yeah, the baseball player Snyder.
I said football.
No, but who was he? He was fucking good.
Rob Donaldson said Dan Snyder. That cancels out Bill Snyder. I feel really good about this bet.
Well, I mean, look, Dan Snyder wanted to keep the name Redskins, so he's okay with me. All right. He's okay with me. Look, Snyder,
the one and only good thing about him.
What the fuck was this player's name? Corey Snyder. Remember him?
Corey Snyder.
He was a baller. He was a baller back in the day for the Indians.
I was going to say Paul Snyder. Was there a Paul Snyder?
Maybe.
Well, we're probably getting not really. Okay.
Wasn't there a kicker Snyder in the NFL too?
Well, you gonna name kickers now?
Well, sometimes they matter,
All right. Everyone
wants to be on Tom Brady's jock. He's the best quarterback ever. Meanwhile, Adam Vinatieri made like 7 unbelievable kicks to win Super Bowls. All right, he would have been known as the most losingest fucking Super Bowl quarterback if it wasn't for this guy making 50-yard kicks in the fucking blizzard. And then how many of them in those filthy domes? They beat the St. Louis Rams, the Carolina Panthers. They kept winning these games on this bullshit. All right, but anyway, yeah.
Running back. Did you get 3 running backs here?
I went back to the old formula that works. And when it comes, look, I had some fun with the CUSA, but one thing I know about the CUSA is they like to toss the ball around a lot. In the MAC, I think that you got to go classic. You got to go classic.
And a lot of times there's weather. It's cold. It's sleety. It's snowy. It leads to more running than maybe those games down south.
Yeah, exactly. So when you tell me I can load up on who was my most expensive, let me just make sure he was the most expensive. I'm
pretty sure it's gonna be Penny Boone.
Yes, great name by the way. 6,100. We both have him, huh?
Yeah, play the music.
Yeah. Let's go.
The 10th leading rusher in the nation as far as rushing yards. He's having a hell of a year. And I mean, he's been over 500. Sorry, 500. It's been over 105 times and over 200 once.
Yeah. I mean, he's a stud. You got to have him. Got to have him on your team.
Now,
no other way around it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the most highly owned guys on the slate are going to be Finn and Boone, but I think you pretty much go ahead and roster them. Now, with my next 2 running backs, here's where I went all kind of off the radar a little bit. Since I went really chalky with Boone and Finn, I had to get a couple guys who I don't think are going to be rostered very highly. And one guy is another Toledo Rocket. I'm going 2 running backs. I'm doing the old Colby Dance special here. Going 2 running backs on the same team because I mentioned they're playing the Buffalo run defense, which is second worst in the MAC, 117th worst in the country. I'm going Jaquez Stewart, who also, by the way, ran for over 100 yards on this same Buffalo team last year.
Well, the Buffalo gets up for Toledo. They circle that one, buddy. So I hate to tell you, you're wrong.
Well, I'm just glad we're not going to have the same roster, and I'm going to be a different roster than a lot of folks going with 2 running backs on the same team.
Well, I'm taking you. So I know our father was a DeMatha High School guy, but was he ever at St. John's? He was at St. John's for a year, wasn't he?
You might be right.
Well, so was Ron Cook. He was at St. John's High School in Washington, D.C. The Buffalo Bulls starting running back. You got to load up on Ron Cook. He's a value play here. Look, and the fact he's a hometown guy, you're going to fade this guy? You're going to lose, buddy. Look, the last couple times.
You're going quarterback and running back for Buffalo.
I think Buffalo's going to be in that game. I'm looking at a 38, 35 type of game. That's the logic. That's the logic, buddy.
You heard it here first. Colby is way over the over under, which is 51. Yeah, I think I'm on the over too, actually. But Toledo has the by far the highest implied total of about 34 points in these 2 games here, and Buffalo has, I think, the lowest. So I don't know, questionable. And Buffalo also gives the ball to who's that other running back? Washington.
Mike Washington, but isn't he questionable? I think he's questionable.
Okay. Well, if so, then if he's not going to play, then that does make the Cook play pretty appealing.
Either way, he's going to cook. All right. He's a senior too. It's November. All right. Who's your next running back, buddy?
All right. So I think a lot of people are probably going to go with a Northern Illinois running back.
I did.
And you're probably going to go with Ontario Brown.
No. What do you know about Pick Dundee? He loves Iowa Hawkeye football.
Oh man, you go with the same guy as me, Gavin Williams.
Yes. You know, I'm a Brian Ferentz truther. I think he should be promoted, not demoted. So when you tell me I can get Gavin Williams, and look, I think Ontario Brown had that one day where he had like 300 yards. I feel like whatever it was. Look recently, Gavin Williams has been that guy. I think 11 and a half yards per carry against EMU.
Yeah. Brown had 2 big games, 13 for 280 and 4 touchdowns against Akron and 16 for 152 against Toledo. Other than that, not a whole lot. And I think he's been losing touches the last 3 weeks to the Iowa State transfer, Gavin Williams, Gavin Williams, 3 straight games having double-digit fantasy points. He's emerging here. And I think a lot of people are going to be on Brown. I like the pivot play to go Gavin Williams. I'm surprised we agree with that. I thought I was going to be the only one talking about him.
An Iowa football player. Come on, former Iowa Hawkeye. Next up, we jump on over to wideout. My top wideout is a guy that I will get on board with, Rocky Lombardi. All right. Look, I think everyone's going to roster. What's it? Ruthkowitz.
Oh, yeah, he's also has a questionable tag, I believe.
Yeah, I think everyone wants to roster Grayson Barnes, but don't forget the guy who was like a stud 2 years ago. Last year he tore his ACL. Trayvon Rudolph. All right, I think.
Play the music
again.
You
filthy fucking animal, you. All right. Well, then I'll take you to my second highest.
Well, hold on. Well, let's talk about Rudolph one other second here, because he had a really big 2021, almost 900 yards, 7 touchdowns. Kind of quiet this year, but his best game this season came last week. Let's see what he did here. 7 for 55. So not great, but the other thing I like, he's had at least 2 carries for 4 straight games. So they find a way to get him the ball in a variety of fashions here, through the air, on the ground. I like the Rudolph play.
All right. Well, look, I'm jumping over to CMU as my second highest priced wideout. There's a kid. His name's Jesse Pruitt III. And I think he's the nucleus of this passing attack. All right. He's out of Columbus, Ohio. I just think CMU is going to be able to score some points. Now I know if you look, only 2 for 23 last week. He didn't score a touchdown though. They're going to find ways to get him the ball. A lot of, he's their leading receiver. He had 10 catches against South Alabama in a game and a touchdown. So I'm rolling with Pruitt as the Chips are going to win at home, buddy. Do you have him on your team?
I don't. I went with another Chippewa receiver. The only Chippewa receiver I have, that's Tyson Davis. Yes. Now, to your point, on the season, Pruitt has more catches, more yards, more touchdowns. But the last 2 weeks, Tyson Davis has had 15 targets, just 11 for Pruitt. I think, again, Tyson Davis a little bit off the radar. He is coming along here, and that's why I like Davis over Pruitt.
No. Battle of Bourbon?
Yes. You don't fade a guy from Flint, Michigan, okay?
All right. Well, look, my final wideout. I'm taking you back to Buffalo. Cole Snyder Pretzel's going to be delivering the ball to not Marilyn Monroe, but Marilyn Johnson. All right. Look, this guy, 5 catches for 64 yards. Last time he stepped on the field against Kent State. Go back to that Louisiana game. He had a big score in that game. So at 5,200, by the way, I have I'm sitting on 220, by the way, $2,200 just sitting there, burning a hole in my pocket. But that's my final play, buddy.
I might have said Iowa State when I was talking about Gavin Williams. If so, that was, I knew it was Iowa. I just, didn't know what the words that were coming out of my mouth, but you're you're not doing good here. Cause I think there's a guy named Jerwan Newton, who is Toledo's best receiver.
Wait, but what was his price? I think I had him originally, so I could get him. Huh?
Yeah. I mean, the guy's got 9
I think
touchdowns.
I agree, actually.
Okay.
I agree because
you're smart.
Because you know what it was? I had him initially and then I dropped him and then I didn't realize because I did some roster movements late.
I mean, he's had a couple quiet weeks, but 9 touchdowns on the year already. I think, and again, Toledo, the highest implied total.
You're right.
There we go.
You're right here. See, I do admit when I'm wrong. All right, folks. Before we get into that's your whole roster, right, Nick?
Boom. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Look, before we get into Wednesday's action, I want to tell you we're brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. So stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use that promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching. Start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, we are back on the college football experience, and
Tuesday night's better than Wednesday night, and I think they should have flipped them. Tuesday night is Halloween. I'm not going to be able to watch at least the first half of the games because I'll be out with, trick-or-treating with kids. So I wish they kind of flipped them because the game's Wednesday. Not the finest the Mac can offer.
Don't you shit on my Zips. All right. Love watching Zip football.
We got Ball State and Bowling Green with an over-under of 39.5 and Kent State Akron with an over-under of 38.5. 2 low-scoring games. I mean, that second game, you have 2 1-7 teams doing battle. The first game, 2-6 versus 4-4. We don't have a team with a winning record playing Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay because I have a substantial amount of money on Akron over 3 wins, so I like to watch them alone. All right,
want at least a push, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. Did you go 2 quarterbacks, NC Nick?
I did. Yeah. I mean, again, not a whole lot of great offensive options. So, the quarterbacks are at least going to have the ball in their hands and maybe they're going to put up some decent points. So I went with the guy who's really coming on. Ball State has gone his way at quarterback, and that is Kyle Kelly, if I'm pronouncing his first name correctly. 6.5K. Kelly, the quarterback of Ball State.
Yeah.
Mentioned this in the pick show. He's had at least 85 yards rushing the last 3 games.
Yeah, that's why you want him. The dual threat capability. DFS. That's what you want. Dual threat capability. Who's your second quarterback?
I don't want anybody.
Tell me it's my guy.
I don't want anybody on Kent State, and I don't want Basilak or the other quarterback on Bowling Green. So we're going under Cuffler with Akron.
My boy. Remember we did the FCS pod a couple years ago. Under Cuffler was shredding teams.
That's right, in the spring.
Yeah.
Was he on? Was it Maine? What team was he on? It was one of the Northeast teams.
I was gonna say Maine, but I also thought it could have been New Hampshire, right?
Oh, I think you're right. I think it was New Hampshire. Hold
Yeah.
on, I'm gonna take a look real quickly, but I think you're right. It was Albany.
Dude,
Albany
Great
is,
Danes. Yeah.
And then they followed up under Cuffler with Big Poffenberger.
Good God,
Albany
that's a factory over there.
Quarterback you.
A fucking You got to have a long last name to play there. Like, yeah, I mean that's my guy too. He's a fucking stud. Let's go. So we have the same quarterbacks.
We do.
Did you roster the former 5-star? Because that is my top running back. Lorenzo Lingard for the Akron Zips. Yeah.
Play the music again.
We have the same fucking team. All right. Florida transfer. Lingard has been, I feel like once defenses got to key in on, once Irons got injured, he's had struggles, but man, he did light up Indiana earlier this year. Indiana almost knocked off Pitt State. But I just feel like he
started his college career at Miami before going to Florida.
That's right. He's been everywhere, but
yeah, I think the matchup is right here for him to have a good game. He's a clear RB1 for Akron. Kent State is awful. So I think it makes sense, but I do have a more expensive running back, and that's the most expensive running back on the slate.
Oh yeah, I do too. I did. Okay. Sorry, I
think Bowling Green's Terry and Stewart.
We have the same fucking team, dude. Man. Yeah, he's a fucking stud, and
maybe not the best matchup, but over the century mark in 4 of the last 5 games.
You gotta roster him. This is the
volume play.
This is the one guy that we've given away that you have to roster so far.
Agreed. Yeah. He's probably going to be obviously very, very chalky, but I think you have to have him in your lineup. It's not like you're going to save money and spend it elsewhere because there's no other options.
I was actually thinking about, and I didn't. I almost played his backup. You know that okay. Keith, I think his name is. I almost played Teron Keith, but
I think if the matchup was better, that's when you entertain the backup. Kind of like I did with the Toledo one against Buffalo.
Yeah, my last running back is back to Muncie, Indiana.
Yeah,
we have the same team. Marquez Cooper.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we have some different wideouts. We've never given away a lineup where we had exactly the same team, have we?
There's not. I don't think so. No, I don't think it's going to happen here either. But there's just not a whole lot of running back options on this slate here. I mean, these 3 are the obvious plays, and they are going to be chalky as hell. So that's why you want to differentiate yourself at receiver or maybe potentially quarterback.
All right, I'm taking you my top wideout. I'm taking you back to Bowling Green, Ohio. Did you roster a wide receiver for Bowling Green?
I rostered a pass catcher for Bowling Green. If you know what I'm getting at, I rostered the tight end, Fannin Jr. 3.7K, okay. My cheapest guy.
There we go. Go.
Nice.
There we go. I do not have him. 17 catches on the season, couple scores. All right. Well, while we're talking, this isn't my highest price guy, but I was surprised that their leading receiver is dirt cheap at 4K. And I'm talking about Ade Hilaire, the senior out of Belgrade, Florida. Look, this is a guy the last 2 weeks didn't play. All right. He's coming back. 4 for 27. The last time he did step on the field, 5 for 45 against the Ohio Bobcats. They're still their leading wideout here. So I will load up on Hilaire, nationally televised game. He's back, hopefully healthy. Let's go at 4K.
Originally I had him in my lineup too, but something weird might be going on there because I don't know if he's ever had an injury designation. The Buffalo game, he actually played and got a carry, I think. So I just felt something was off there. Like, I don't know why he hasn't, I guess he hasn't got any targets. Has he played? I don't know. He has no injury designation. So I see your point. I just felt like something was fishy there.
Roster him. He's a senior. It's November.
And also, this slate came out about 2 hours ago, so we haven't had a chance to take a deep dive. So maybe if you can find any kind of information about Bowling Green out there, good luck. But maybe you have a chance before Wednesday to figure out what's going on with Hilaire, because I do like him better than the tight end if he's 100% and playing.
I love my other two wideouts, but it's your turn to roster up here.
My next guy, my most expensive receiver, and the only person I took on Kent State was Krishan McCray. There you go.
Dude, that's gonna be the difference. It's just Hilaire and your tight end.
Well, this guy McCray has had double-digit.
He's
targets.
a stud, man. Who the fuck is this guy?
4 weeks in a row with double-digit targets. Look, I mean, Kent State sucks. Their passing game sucks, but he's going to get the ball.
McCray, baby.
McCray,
often. Dude, he's young, man. They found a diamond in the rough here, man.
He'll probably transfer out to
he'll be at North Carolina next year. Yeah, or Arizona. Yeah.
I know you like this guy because he was good last year on Akron, and that's my last guy, Daniel.
The LSU transfer, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, Daniel George, you went.
Yeah.
Okay, he's the Kansas State transfer, I believe. Right. I went with Alex Adams, the LSU transfer. So we have two different. But
Adams has been quieter lately.
I know, but here's my theory. I think Undercuffler is better at getting the ball. Like Irons was putting up better numbers, but I also think Undercuffler stretches the field a little bit better for this team. Now he's not dual threat, so they suck worse. But I think you look to get. Well, how much was George? What's his price?
Their price was like right next to each other. 5.5K.
I do have enough money. Fuck you. This is our battle of bourbon. Let's go.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, last week when Undercuffler was the man, Daniel George caught 7 for 74. Alex Adams caught 1 for 7. If you have a hunch that Adams is going to have a big game, it's kind of come out of nowhere. If you want to make that bourbon bet, I'm your Huckleberry.
Man, you're right though. He's done nothing this year. No, dude, he was a stud last year for him.
Yeah, it's been surprising that he's been quiet.
No, you've sold me. You've sold me.
Hey, last year he caught 63 balls for 855 yards.
I'm saying he was I'm going with George. You're right.
All right. So let's wait on the side bet to see if there's any clarity about the Bowling Green situation.
And I believe George was a Penn State transfer, if memory serves me correct, not a K-State transfer.
You're right, Penn State.
Yeah. All right, folks, that's our show. All right, subscribe to the College Football Experience. We're on Twitter, or follow us on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. NC Nick's on Twitter at NC__NICK. Remember, we invite you to come play DFS with us, and also watch it on YouTube live. All right, YouTube.com/The College Experience. We're live pretty much every day except Sunday, so check us out. And check out the College Basketball Experience. All conference previews are firing away every day. About to do the West Coast Conference preview in about 4 minutes here. So check it out. College Basketball Experience, same channel. All right. So wherever podcasts can be found. Also there's the College Baseball Experience, the FCS College Football Experience, and the Big 12 Experience. Check it all out. All of those come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/The College Experience. Until next time, folks, this is the College Football Experience. DFS style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the gamblers. Run and shoot.